Course. Alrighty. It's going to be a very interesting audio unfriendly moment. Okay. Okay. Gonna minimize this. Hello, whoever is watching. How do I sound? If you can type in chat, that would be awesome. Good morning from Australia. Hey, it's working. That's great news. Yeah, I had three amazing things happen very quickly in succession, so I'm a little bit late. I've actually had quite a busy day. So I thought I'd do kind of a semi-casual stream. I actually haven't opened this camera yet, so this is going to be, doesn't sound too bad. I'm using a really strange microphone by choice, actually, because I quite like this microphone, so I have no idea how this will go. It's pretty far from me, though. I can't quite touch it. The main event. Hey, Allie. Hey, Ruben. Let me get some people in here. This is going to be fun. I actually grabbed a bunch of things to have some conversation. This camera kind of jumped out of nowhere. I mean, there were some teases really quick, but here we are. Here we are. I picked mine up today. I think I'm the first filmmaker who's got one. I've seen dealerships get them, retailers. I have literally not shot with this. I know that some people have on that side, but I'm probably the first person who bought the camera who got it. I'm going to tell Jared I'm online. Live. I should tell Scott, too, because he said he wanted to come by. Live. I don't know if I have the ability to patch people in. I'm doing this kind of in a fast and dirty way, not where I would normally do my stream. AF overlay is showing. Oh, it is. I'll turn that off right now. Alrighty. Now it's just us and no composition grids or AF overlays. Does it come with an EF to RF adapter like the original Komodo? I have no idea. I suspect it doesn't, though. That was a different time, different place, different everything. So I guess we're going to get started. I brought some cameras to the table as well to have kind of a fun discussion. I have my original Komodo. I brought out one of my Raptors over here, and even a DSM-C2 body. So we can do some really interesting size comparisons. I actually bought the camera and a few accessories. One very important one for my workflow. Hey, Scott. All right. Well, I think I'm going to crack open the case. Nice little entry point here. Get that peel off. I'm going to do this kind of in a monstrous sort of way. Rip it off, get the cellophane going. I actually don't even know what serial number I have. So this will be very exciting. That's not for me. Chainsaw. Yeah, no chainsaw. Luckily, not that much work. Well, this is interesting. I've never actually opened a box away from myself, so you guys are going to get to see this first. Is video flipped? Or is it just me? Am I going to have to live this way? All right, well, we'll have to live this way. Okay, so this looks very familiar. Kind of looks like the Raptor box. Not shocking there. They have this nice little foam topper with the Komodo skull logo. All of your app download stuff. Cool. Just gonna stash everything in here. There we have a very tiny camera. Let's take out the foam stuff first. I actually want to see what it comes with. All right, so we got like some sort of power adapter, power cable, about a 3.5-inch long antenna, maybe 4. Nice little red sticker. That's been kind of the go-to. And your power adapter. So I think that's probably it. So not too much going on here. And let's take out the Komodo. Is that in there? All right. Well, first I have to see what cereal I get. I don't know if that's low or not, but all right. It's fine. I can live. And there it is. Let's just tidy this up for now, and I'll go back in here when I need all these goodies. So this is the Stormtrooper model. I'm going to try to read some comments while we're doing this. Phil, you won the extrapolation extravaganza guessing pretty much right on. Yeah, I mean, once the teases started becoming apparent, guessing the specs of this camera was, you know, I have an unnerving accuracy when it comes to kind of everybody who releases cameras. And there's a lot of reasons for that. Sometimes I am privy to information early. This thing was in, magic in the dark, kind of like Raptor. I had no idea. But the thing with making a second Komodo was kind of doing the things that people wanted it to do from the get-go. No, it's right on our side. Perfect. What's Gucci? It's a brand. Nice clothing. Good purses. Hey, Scott. Good. Yeah, that's it. Scott's in chat instead of on camera. He was live today, and it was actually kind of a fun day. I have been running around like crazy. This isn't just a new Komodo-X day for me. I got some other equipment that came in that I'm dealing with. Plus, I'm doing post-production stuff. Mine was $13.99. Okay, well, good to know. So I guess the first thing to do is to show it against the original Komodo here. I do have a little base plate on here that I could probably take off. Let me do that for the sake of doing that, just to give you guys an actual taste of what this thing actually is. What, 25 people in here? Scott had a whole bunch of people during the announcement. That was pretty cool. I couldn't stick around for all of it because I was much more eager to go get the camera. But there we go. So yeah, same exact height, same exact width. You guys can see that here. Kind of looks like this one's a little bit bigger, especially if I do that, but it's not. That's a fun thing to do. And I think what I'll do is I'll go around the camera talking about what I see that's different, changed, better, all those things. I think that'll be fun because I think the purpose of the stream is, I'm going to be using this camera for professional work. So I kind of want you guys to see what I go through when I get a new camera body. I was saying just the other day, it's crazy that I still get really excited when new camera technology comes out because I've really experienced quite a bit of it. And there's actually some interesting synergy with this particular Komodo-X. One thing that I've noticed that people haven't talked about at all, it's been 3 years since Komodo came out, but it's also been 10 years since Dragon came out. And there's a lot of baby Dragon going on here when it comes to the Komodo-X, which is pretty cool. So the first thing we'll notice, let's start at the front. So obviously we have the locking RF mount, and I'll unlock it and remove the cap. This will probably be the most exposed. I'll do the sensor on its own. I don't know if the light will capture it, but you can see in there. Now, it looks like they've changed the sensor chamber a little bit. There seems to be, I'm not going to touch it, but it seems to be a felt-like sort of flocking material, which I have a feeling does a good job of catching stray light and also probably catching stray particulate. These cameras kind of get used in, hairy situations. Really freaking happy to see the locking RF mount that Raptor has. It's definitely one of the top Island Journey shooting red. Thanks, Cadence. Robin, Phil, did you get the new RF to PL mount with the electric ND? I am going to be getting that. It was not available for me to pick up today. So I only grabbed what I could pick up today. There's actually stuff coming that's just not available yet. But the camera was able to get into my hands today. How does half press feel on the record buttons? That is a question I have myself. We'll find out. It's there. It's tactile. You can do it. It's a little bit harder on the side. Oh, no, it's there. Just got to get used to it. It's kind of a new thing. This hasn't been done before on Red cameras. Does the USB port on the pack run Red control instead of needing the top adapter like on OG? I do not believe so. But let me get to that. So front of the camera, the first things to notice are we still have a tally light, and I think we still have scratch microphones, those two little pinholes. I'll do a little of that. That's those guys right there. And we have this right-hand side record button, which I think some people are going to have some thoughts about it not being here. I'm not particularly bothered by it because this camera is so damn small. If this camera was bigger, it would be kind of harder to get my hand around there. And I'm sure once you have it rigged, that might be a little bit of a thing, but really not a big deal. And the other record buttons on that side. Anything else important on the front? Yeah, I mean, the biggest one is the change to the sensor chamber, as well as the locking RF mount. Super, super happy about that. Let's go to this side here. Okay, so we have our other record button, and that also has that weird half press thing that I'll have to get used to. There's a speaker, so you can get it to make a choo-choo sound when you record or something. I have no idea. I never use it. But you'll see that this actually has a switch on it. The switch is really cool and has been something that's been a part of the newer Red cameras like Raptor. And the reason I'm mentioning that, and I literally brought this out to show you guys, is just having that interface replaces this entire accessory. This is a jetpack on a DSMC2 body. Let's see if I can actually get the thing to focus on it. Yeah, there we go. So the jetpack on the very top has the same switch right there. Ugh, everything's backwards for me. It's very exciting. And it's really nice because that's now literally built in everywhere. And you guys can now see the size difference between the DSMC2 and Komodo-X. Now, I'll mention this. There's not too much overlap with Dragon, but there are similarities when you think about it. But this was the smallest body Dragon ever existed in. And I'm just making that point because this thing is significantly shorter. Not too difference on the lengthwise. And we'll get to battery adapters and all that stuff. I'm going to stash this because I probably don't need it much after this. So what else do we have there? So yeah, the record button, you get your mounting points. I don't know if anyone's really gotten down to the dirty of it, but anything that mounted on the side of Komodo should fit on Komodo-X. So all of your Timmy ribs and stuff like that should be compatible. I don't see a reason why they wouldn't be. I'm sure someone's got some weird cage that doesn't fit because there's been a lot of different shapes and stuff like that, but that's a whole other conversation. Let's go to the rear. Let's go to the side. Let's go to the other side. So now we're on the operator side, and yeah, we got more vents. We have a media bay, which is just like Raptor. And the biggest change with Komodo-X on the media front is this now takes CFX Type B cards. And you need that because this camera also does higher frame rates and all those things. Jared Land, record button had to be right on the front where you see blocks the left front. Yeah, that makes sense because you have the tray. Now that everyone's seen pictures of that, yeah. How's the tripod mount spacing? Exactly the same as V-Raptor. Well, let's take a look. It wasn't there yet, but we'll change it. It's not the same, but it's not too dissimilar. So for straight plates that have basically a channel with bolts, shouldn't be a problem. For fixed plates where you have bolt slots, you might have to get creative. I'm hoping Red's got some that Raptor uses. I've been a very, very, very big vocal advocate of ARCA, as well as the standard airy dovetail for comp cameras, because I just took this plate off. So it's a very lightweight solution if you're doing like car rigs, stuff like that. Scott, oh, the chimes? If I dropped out, let me know. It doesn't look like it did on my side. Oh no, the wind chime. No, I actually opted to do this outside for a variety of reasons. But it's actually quite nice in LA, and I've had a hell of a day. Hey Scott, protect your audio. Oh, is it this? Are the chimes actually overpowering things? My connection looks good on my side. Oh no. I should have just pre-recorded this. I was going to totally just do that instead. But am I still bad? It says I'm really well connected, though. My audio is going wonky. Is it because I'm not talking at the mic? Hey, Tyler. Good to see you, buddy. I'm fine now. Okay, I just got to talk more towards the mic, I think, because I'm reading chat at the same time, so you'll see me looking and doing all that stuff. Okay, so CFX, quick release for that. You have an indicator for the sensor image plane. You get that on both sides. That is useful for a variety of reasons, especially for people who do array work and you need to find your nodal point. I'm fine, buddy. Okay, so it's fine for some people. You are really well connected. Okay, good. Let's take a look at the rear, where other really big changes have taken place. Changes I like, changes that not many people, well, I think actually a lot of people would like them. So the big one is the I/O layout is now much more like Raptor, where you have it basically all down one side. And then you have the micro Vs. I did not bring micro Vs from the hut. Oh, actually, I brought a plate, though, so I can just mount this on here. So that's how that works. Ironically, the first thing I put on there is a gold mount adapter. Is it snug? It's very snug. And that tooth is very strong. Noticeable is this is now a metal button instead of plastic like before, which I am a fan of. It's knurled, so you can find it in the dark. Let's see, V-mount is indeed for ding-dongs, but those ding-dongs outnumber the ho-hos. Like, yeah, no, I remember... It's so crazy because during the course of my career, with basically the first 12 years being Panavision productions, gold mount was like the de facto thing in Hollywood. But very quickly, it was noticeable that V-mount was way more popular, both locally and internationally. And I film everywhere. So when it came time to actually invest in my own batteries, I had to make some calls. And now I do support gold mount as well. But I'd say I have a fair amount of V-mount solutions. And the bigger advantage from someone who kind of operates more like a production company is all my lighting equipment operates on V-mount as well. So instead of having a million adapter plates or different types of batteries, it's crazy. And look, I mean, I'm gonna test this thing right now. That's not doing anything. I mean, I shouldn't be doing this. I just got this thing, but yeah, I mean, a good vampire tooth and a good locking mechanism. You see how deep this goes in? Like, that's a significant amount of force. It would take a lot for a battery to pop out or something weird to happen. And let's take a look at the I/O here. So the USB-C here allows for a lot of things, like file transfer, but also firmware updates, potentially. But this is also a hardline red control connection. So you can go straight to your phone, or if you have a rigging application where you need to extend that, say, over Ethernet, like I do a lot, there you go. We have the 12G SDI out, so that will do 4K video, 422 at 60, I believe. I will double check that. The headphone jack. The big boy update is this is the audio port. I do have an XLR adapter in here. This is the same one that Raptor uses, and this does provide phantom power, which is pretty cool. And apparently, I've been hearing that the boards are quite good in this. maybe improved over Raptor even. So I will be testing that because that is of interest to me. I have been asking for other audio support in future Red cameras as well. So I like this continuing trend to improve this aspect. In the film industry, there seems to be a very big segregation still from sound and picture, but for a lot of filmmakers, that is actually a very big concern for what they do professionally. So more of that, please. You have the EXT9 pin. That's also the same one that everything uses from the DSMC era, which is really, really nice. You can do time code, breakout, control, genlock, all those things. You can do that through a cable, or sometimes you're going to probably have some sort of I/O plate. I think Jared teased that today. And then you have the DCN. The DCN is the same one that V-Raptor uses. And that's that. Okay, so we'll look at the bottom real quick again. You got the two little indent stars here. Oh. Phil, what is your key light? This is an Aperture Nova 600C. I have quite a bit of lighting equipment. I was going to do some weird medley of ProLight, Hive, and whatever. Hive is my rim light. And it's shooting through a Matthews full silk, if you're very curious. I am my very first work I ever did in the film industry was gripping and gaffing, and for a lot of reasons. Something I should mention about the door here, the media bay hatch or whatever you want to call it, you can actually remove that. And I know I get into rigging scenarios where it's easier to get to the media card by just having the door off. But do stow it somewhere safe because you are prone to lose them. And there is a plane going over, but I will take a look at the top of the camera. So you just sold a 600C, thanks. It's a good light. It's actually running at like probably 50% power, and going through a full silk like this at this angle is probably a 2-stop cut. So it's got plenty of power on it. Okay, so what is cool about Komodo and Komodo-X is this is the only Red camera, and this is the only Red camera, that all you need to start shooting is a battery and a lens. And the reason I'm saying that is this is also a menu interface, but also a monitoring interface. Whereas on V-Raptor, all this does is a menu and a really nice interface for one, but you do need something to look at. And that's fine. I'm okay living that way. But as I've told Jared, I've certainly mentioned it on Scott's stream, one of the cooler use cases I've had was using a top LCD screen while leaving the exposure tools enabled on the top screen here, or on the menu screen, whatever you want to call it, top screen. So on the LCD, I would use my focus and framing tools, and lo and behold, down here, I could always just make sure my exposure was dead on. And it was a really nice way to work. And that kind of alludes to why I always thought, Komodo was kind of really fun to shoot. It was small and presented new ways of thinking about shooting. Also, I didn't mention the Wi-Fi antenna. That's the big little thing sticking out here. And there is a longer one included, which folds down, probably not to the length of the body. So it'll just be able to live on there. And that's key. For anybody who has not used Red Connect, it's a free app. It's on Android and iOS. And you can even connect to this camera through a computer, through a browser. I think there's a lot of things that these cameras can do now that a lot of people don't even know about, frankly, because I feel like I'm always introducing some new thing to somebody. Like how they include 2 sizes, me too. No touche, okay. So I think I'm broadcasting in 1080, but I am feeding this thing a 4K signal. So it should look okay, but we'll see. So what we got, menu button, the dual press lock buttons, but the up and down indicator, the select button, and then the playback button. And I might power this up, but let me give you guys this big, deeply satisfying moment. It's not a big peel, but I'll get nice and close for you guys. And now everything I do to this camera will only make it dirtier. Okay. Also on the top of the camera, we have the pogo connections. They look the same as the previous Komodo, but they are actually pretty much just like Raptor. So that means I can connect this display here and it will get power and have full camera control without me rigging extra cables. And I've been getting a lot of questions in the last few weeks about this whole thing, about what you should be using. So there's three choices. Oh, hey, Curtis. Shutter speeds. I haven't even turned the camera on yet, man. I might have to go hop in and get a battery. I have them inside. I have an entire battery wall, which is a terrifying sight if you saw it, but it's fire resistant, so good times. Yo, Dirty Phil. Is Dirty Phil a nickname I've earned somehow? I did bring a Vista Prime. If you wanted to see the size between the 180 Vista and Komodo-X, I thought this would be fun. But I also brought some smaller lenses like that. Here's a dual lens. Yeah, I'll get a PL mount on there in a second. Helicopter. Okay. What else can I tell you? There are some new M4 mounting bolts here. This is interesting. Probably for some sort of accessory attachment or top plate. I could see that being a nice place to support that. There's three, so that probably allows that to hold even more additional weight. I'm a guessing person on that one. But the interesting thing to me about Raptor versus Komodo-X right now is the inset for the V-mount adapter. They both use a 75 mil wide battery, micro V. I think that's the clearance, if I remember correctly. Yeah, and they look like identical. So what I kind of like is how these ecosystems are kind of beginning to work together without me buying a whole bunch of new stuff, which, you know, admittedly, when Komodo came out, this thing was all sorts of new, especially the dual BP thing. And this is the thing I'm really not upset about. I have the core plate on here now. I've used the tilted most of the time, actually. I would say 90% of my shooting on regular Komodo happened with V-mounts. So I'm super freaking happy about this. And though the camera is about 19 mil longer, with the V-mount plate, it's actually integrated in the body. It's shorter. I think I have that dimension close. Well, I mean, Tilta made the novel choice of doing a horizontal battery mount, which was, I think, kind of a cool thing, but go figure. So let me talk about the camera a little bit. Okay, the specs. So Red likes to build on their technologies. So what we have here is a new 6K Super 35 sensor. It is the same format size as the previous Komodo. And this is why I think I probably have some importance about talking today, and I bet you none of the retailers are talking about any of this stuff. For those of us who used to film with Dragon, or still do, Dragon 6K was 6144 by 3160, which was a little bit wider, but not as tall as people would have expected. This, in terms of resolution, is 6144 by 3240. And that is a proper DCI or 1.91 ratio, or what we kind of just refer to now as 17 by 9. Allie and Scott strutting around the yard with the dragons. Dragon's a beautiful cameraman, and this is actually where I'm kind of getting at. So the sensor in here, and it's the same thing for Komodo, is slightly larger than Super 35 3-perf. But Dragon actually was built on the same pixel pitch that Raptor and Monstro uses. Or no, the other way around. Monstro and Raptor were built on what Dragon used. And for anyone who shot with Super 35 lenses, for maximum coverage, and especially where the lens performs the best, you were shooting pretty much 5K or 5.5K. That's where this smaller 4.4 micron pixel pitch works. And because now you can use the full 6K resolution, That makes that really, really cool. And I'll make some data sheets. I actually haven't updated my tools or anything. Like I said, I've had a busy day. Yeah, so that's exciting to me. And the obvious decision here for Red was, I think I told Jared, Scarlet X, damn Thompson here. Here we go. Thompson Visuals, yeah. I think I told Jared within a week or two of getting Komodo that if this thing shot 60p at 6K, it would have probably done twice the sales. Which, that was the only frustration, especially from NTSC and PAL people. So a lot of people were probably suspecting this camera to just be 60 frames per second at 6K. And that wouldn't have been a bad guess. But what I was thinking Red was going to do, and they did, was basically Komodo-X with this new sensor is basically all just half the frame rates of the Raptor class bodies. So at 6K 160 on Raptor, you get 6K 80. And in that way, they play very well together because you can use your Raptor class bodies for higher frame rates, different resolutions, things like that, like 8K, and tap into it. So this will do, I'm going to do this off the top of my head. It should do 6K 80, 5K 96, 4K 120. I honestly don't shoot much under 4K, but I bet you 2K is 240 and so on and so forth. And I'm actually looking forward to powering this on and doing the whole thing. Maybe I should go get a battery. Wouldn't take me that long to hop away from the stream, but it's bad etiquette to leave for even 5 seconds, right? But I wanted to keep this casual and just have some fun with it. Are there go? You want me to actually go power it up? You guys want to just stare at my lights for like 5 seconds while I run in the house? Power that puppy up. Okay, time me. Time me. Wow, that's annoying. What the heck? Okay, that sucked. I might have did something extremely bad. I'm glad you stopped timing me because I actually ended up grabbing a whole bunch of batteries too. I'm still back. Okay, I'm back. No, I'm not using Red for the live feed, and my other live stream setup, which I use mostly for business, is a Sony, and I did not want to tear that whole thing apart. So here we are. I guess I could have brought another Sony out, or a Red even, but there we go. Yeah, I'm gonna probably have as many, if not more, issues than Scott with the live stream because I'm also doing this outside. Oh my gosh, no more cameras for me. Honestly, maybe not a bad thing. So I actually was able to grab a bunch of different batteries. I have the GDU, that's a 98 watter. This is a 150 Anton Bauer. This is the 98 Nano, which is the same as the Red Brick. Red announced a new smaller battery, and it's actually smaller than this. And this is the 45 watter. And you can see how small that is. That's nothing. Nothing rattling, right? Okay. Didn't want to break it that quick. Let's try a GDU on there, see what that is. It's upside down. I'm a professional. Yeah, it's pretty good. I always kind of like having a little bit of thickness here because if you can see, whenever you have an SDI cable plugged in, that actually gives you a little bit of protection in case you ding it. So pretty cool thing there. And then let's try putting the 150 on there just to see what it does. Nice. That's now a little bit heftier. The battery is significantly larger, but still fine. And I'm kind of figuring out the power draw. I was looking at the info online, and it looks like it can handle about 25 watt hours naked, but with the monitor, probably pushing up to 40 something watts. This thing, the 7 in particular, is actually pretty power hungry, much more power hungry than the old DSMC2 monitors, but it's also because this monitor gets significantly brighter. Okay, one with the black Komodo-X chip. I think Jared said in a month or two. Give some love to the ding dong eject button. It's rad. Yeah, I think I shouldn't be doing any of what I'm doing right now. Like, this is a brand new camera, and I'm just trying to torture it. It's feeling pretty good. The wiggle I'm doing is because I'm applying so much force. Try. That's pretty good. That's real good. So yeah. And again, because there's probably 10 or 12 millimeter of movement right there, that's a very secure lock. And that tooth is really good. Actually, that's an impressive thing right there that I just noticed. If you look at the difference between, that's actually painted the V mount. So you see where the Stormtrooper white is? So that actually is a little bit more work. You can kind of see the fade there. So some poor bastard had to deal with that. I don't envy their situation. Probably taped off, so not the worst thing in the world. And the finish is much more closer to Raptor than the previous Komodo. And I think it's only, about a half a pound heavier, maybe a smidge more than that. I need to actually look. So I guess the thing I'll open up next is this guy right here. Let's see some footage. I just got this camera. I've literally not even powered it on, although I'm about to. Just to show you guys this, looks like it does that. This is something I've been waiting for. I do not have the END here, but I do have the PL. And Red's PL is kind of important to me because this guy, I'll show the camera, has those pins right there, which somehow gets translated to these pins here, and then also translated in the camera to read /I. So when I use my Sigma Cines here with /I data with those pins right there, I get all the focal length information, the focus distance, the iris, the lens ID per frame. And that's kind of important to me because I do heavy duty visual effects work. It's something I've been using already with Raptor. So pretty pumped on that stuff. Actually, let's put a battery on there. Let's actually flip this thing on. So you never time the first boot up because Red usually has some sort of agreement thing you have to do. It is powering on. I'll show you guys what's going on too. We can watch it together. It says beta, Stormtrooper tradition. It'll probably take a minute. It's going to discover that it's still a camera. I want those Sigmas. Yeah, the Sigmas are really good. Will it balance on an RS3 and 2? I don't see why it wouldn't. I've put a Raptor on there, and it's a bigger camera. Awesome live feed, by the way. Yeah, well, this was... Trust me, if you saw what I was doing 5 minutes before this stream, the GDU red color looks awesome. Yeah, I really like the color they settled on, and it kind of matches the eject button, if you look at that. Jared, you should have put some sort of joke startup screen on Phil's camera. Okay, so when you get a Red first time, you have a software licensing agreement. And basically, it just says that someone will devour your soul or something. So I'm going to hit OK. Agree. And I'm in the menu. That was quick. So it's telling me I have everything. Looks pretty similar, but slightly different. This is my first time seeing this menu, so I'm enjoying my little poke through on this. And actually, okay, so here's where I'm going to probably talk a little bit about best practices. The DSMC3 cameras have relatively quick sensor calibration. Oh, is the audio bad? Did I screw something up? Phil, check. Okay, I will. I already know what they are. Everything is just half of what V-Raptor does at the equivalent resolution, which is basically the thing. And actually, I'm trying to get to all the questions here. I missed the STs. Dude, they went fast. When I picked up my camera, Red said that they sold out. So that was really fast. And what I did with the V-Raptor was I got one Stormtrooper, and then I eventually got a black body. We'll see if I get two Komodo-X's. It depends on what I do with them. This camera is actually something that I'm going to be putting to task on something. I kept all of my Super 35 glass, and there's even more RF native glass coming. I brought a couple out. This is the rather good Fujinon 18-55, which covers Komodo brilliantly and has a macro mode. So if I was doing a dock, where do I even go with this? I was going to have some cool conversations about this camera. So I'll just leave this on for just a second, just to let it kind of run for a minute. So original Komodo, I started using the term utility camera. And I remember Jared was saying, you know, this is more of a B or a C thing, or, you know, they're going to make anything an A camera if they can figure out a way to do it. The reason why I liked it as a utility camera was how it could be used in tandem with other systems. And also the key feature of it being a global shutter. So I've strapped literally directly to a car hood with, you know, safety precautions and padding and whatever, just a Komodo. And because there's no Jello camera, you can get that energy and excitement without worrying about your footage being absolutely destroyed. A higher quality cinema camera is a really high speed sensor readout. But the thing that's always really impressive about the original Komodo, and probably what's going to be impressive about this, I have not done a single test on this yet, is you have a global shutter with impressive dynamic range capacity, and you can intercut between them. Komodo was moderately invented, tight spaces and stuff. I even worked on a couple features in the last 2 years where all sorts of small cameras were being deployed, but they weren't exactly the image that people were looking for at the end of the day. Komodo solves that problem while still keeping the camera really small. And in the case of this, I mean, I used to shoot with this at 150 watt hours. I'd get through an entire day of filming without changing a battery, or sometimes just going to a second battery. which is quite different from my DSMC2 or V Raptor mentality. And I think that's the interesting thing here. Komodo came out prior to DSMC3 proper. This is basically a DSMC3 camera with no compromises, and it's just compatible with everything. And to that point, there's been a lot of chatter and people wanting to sell their Komodos or whatever. This camera now complements this camera in a unique way because it still has the lower power draw, and they're identical in format size. So if you were trying to get to a place where you could have two cameras and do a shoot, this is a situation for you, which I think is pretty cool. YouTube hates me. The audio is tough. I hope my audio isn't crap. Proper power numbers: 21 Komodo, 28 Komodo-X. Beautiful. Thank you. That saves me a lot of time. Yeah, so that's really exciting. And what is the battery telling me right now? Percentage, which is cool. So to give you some best practices, and I'm just going to show you guys what I do when I do a sensor calibration. I leave the camera on for usually a couple minutes. You wait for your T and E. Let me get real close to the camera here. At the very top there's a T and E that are green. And I haven't set up my project or anything, but we're going to pretend like I set it up for 2398. I'm going to go into menu. I don't think I can do this in reverse. I'm going to just do this on my own. Okay. So menu, maintenance, calibrate. And I am going to time this. Where's my phone? I am totally going to time this. I'm very curious about this. I'm going at 1/48 for a 24 frames per second process. It says it's going to take about 30 seconds, which is about the same as V Raptor. So here we go. This is real-time sensor calibration, the most exciting live stream ever in the history. No, but this is actually huge because Monstro takes 8 minutes, basically a minute per K, if you think about it that way. But I suspect this is going to be 20-something seconds once it's done. There it is, 22.95, and I probably was a little bit slow on that reaction. And that camera's ready to go. That's sick. Now, I'm certain at longer exposure times, which I might see if this camera has anything in here for that. Okay. Interesting. Okay. I will have to test this. Let's check out some frame rate stuff. Go down to 6 frames per second. Okay. Yeah, I'll have to investigate to see if there are any frame rate improvements on the lower end. Higher end, let's just go all the way. There's your 80 frames per second. Nothing shocking there. That's good news. Yeah, now you guys are kind of getting my fresh reactions to things right now. And yeah, everything, if you've used a Komodo, you already know how to use this camera. It's like the only difference looking at the top screen is it says CFX. Let me get to some questions if there are any. Slower shutters. Okay. How does the dynamic range compare to Komodo? So that's what's going to happen next for me. I've powered this camera up. I've done a sensor calibration. What I usually do when I get a new camera, for those of you that don't know me, I've been testing cameras for over 2 decades in this industry. And I usually go on what I refer to as a first date with a camera. So I usually take it for a day or sometimes a week or 2 to fully figure out what's good, bad, how to get the most out of it, get all the hard numbers. So I measure dynamic range 3 different ways to get a very, very precise measurement. From what I'm hearing, Komodo-X has about half a stop on the bottom end, which is a good thing because that's an area that is a useful improvement. Original Komodo's last firmware came out. Yeah, that was last month. So the thing with it's very interesting because Red is constantly working on the firmware on cameras, and I think there's a little bit of a insanity sometimes over beta features, even like autofocus. You guys don't judge other manufacturers when they add new autofocus features to cameras. You just get a firmware update and it just happens. But technically, autofocus is being worked on literally at all times, and often in the sense that you will have to buy a new camera to get even more features out of it. So I don't know. I always thought that was a weird thing. Will Red Raptor also get slower shutter speeds? That's a Jared question. I suspect there's lots of stuff being worked on, but we are dealing with a global shutter and a fast shutter readout, and I imagine that's very hard to do. So we'll see. I missed the ST today, but I had known about the shutter speeds. I would have been on point. Well, we'll see what it does, Curtis. I'll let you know. But again, Red's always working on stuff, and we used to do 1 frame a second on DSMC2. I don't know if I ever even, I think the time-lapse work I did I ever do any one? I probably did some 1 frame per second stuff, but a lot of it was like 4. And I used to do like 9-hour time lapses. I mean, crazy big ones. Curtis, I'm going to be in your neck of woods. Cool. Peace out. Congrats, Jared, the Insane Launch and Phil. Thank you. Any progress on the gyro data support in post? It is there in the metadata. You can extract it. There's, I think, 2 software packages that can use it right now. 240 max frame rates. It's literally, Jed, it's literally half of Raptor. Everything is half to Raptor's. Yeah, it was last month. I don't know how delayed the comments are with my chat, but yeah. I suspect that Komodo will get a new release build soon. There's been a lot of new technology, especially now with these mounts coming out and the END, because those all had to be probably added to the firmware and tested. So by the time that release build, but the big one for me, and Jared knows my deep love for it, was getting Geoscope back in Raptor, and that should be here as well. I'm going to do that and take a look. Monitoring, tools. Are you there? You are there. Thank you. Okay, so it's got all my goodies in here. And I think when I have some time, I'm going to do a full deep dive in this thing. I really do want to shoot some quality tests. I've got so many requests for what type of test footage to do. OG Komodo release build was next month if beta proves to not expose any more bugs. Cool. Well, I mean, I think if you own a Komodo, you need to ask a few questions. These 2 cameras play very, very well together. So to me, if you are looking for a backup camera or a B camera, this is a good combination. And I feel almost like Komodo-X was designed to play even better with DSMC3. But, you know, let's talk about where Komodo's been used. Komodo was released during the pandemic when remote filmmaking trends really started to happen. The crazy thing is you can slap an electronic lens on here and literally control this thing from anywhere in the world as long as you have an internet connection. And we've done that, and that's cool. The big one where Komodo has been excelling, and certainly 2 Januaries ago, I started doing a lot of virtual production R&D for a project. Komodo's rad for virtual production, and Raptor's rad because you have the sensor shift sync. So they're pretty much the best cameras for that at the moment. And I'm sure you'll see other manufacturers adding similar features. But the global shutter for virtual production is gold. And with the slight image quality increases, the additional frame rates, good news. The other big deal for me, I am someone who primarily shoots in red code raw. This does either or, so you'll have red code raw or ProRes, whereas Wrap can do both at the same time. That's what I understand. That might surprise me. There might be some dual record mode in here that I haven't even figured out about. We can find out right now. But I'm pretty sure I'm right about that. Project settings. Yep, it's either or. So, yep, good. This now does ProRes 4444. That is hotness. But the cool thing for me is at all frame rates, I'm going to verify this right now, and maybe the camera's smart enough to do this. You can maintain a consistent red code compression ratio. So if you wanted to shoot 24 frames at 6K in HQ, you could do that. And if you wanted to shoot 80 frames in HQ, it looks like you can do that too. I'm going to verify that right now because I am that curious about that specific thing. Correct. Okay. Yeah, that's awesome. That makes me very happy. And that's actually something I've been enjoying about Raptor. You don't get the full range, but like up to like 72 or 96 or something, you still get HQ at full 8K, which is hot. I can't remember where it terminates on that, or 60 or something. So if you're doing a 60 time-based project, that's pretty sick. I really can't stress, like, these cameras are so much more powerful than a lot of people consider. And I think the big update here is Komodo-X has been transformed into more of a production camera. This is certainly more suitable for an A camera, and you have better audio in. You have a more robust power solution. SDI, honestly, is in a better spot. Not a huge deal there, but it's something. But yeah, this camera is capable of shooting literally anything that Dragon shot, and more so because it does have the global shutter. So that's kind of very exciting to me. And it's kind of the similar frame rates to Dragon. A little bit of a variance, but not too far off. Any other questions? Pretty boy Phil. Okay. Thanks for the unboxing. Looking forward to your tests. I've seen other tests where Komodo looks slightly different than Komodo-X. Different sensors. Yeah, Red made a new sensor and improved upon it. Same pixel pitch and same format size. From what I've been hearing, it's a little bit more Raptor than Komodo, which I wouldn't be upset about. Yeah. Dual record to an external recorder is what I've done and never used the proxy recording. Yeah, that's certainly a good workflow, Carlos. I've even seen people with Raptor do that workflow because they want to just have that as a separate activity anyways. 94 watch. Oh, I haven't even looked at that. 97 watching. Well, I'm not gonna cry over likes or not, but I love action on global shutter. Yeah, I think that's the cool thing. And you guys have, a few of you have been following me for a while. You know my chest cam or belly cam rigs, where that project I shot in South Korea, where we hit so many locations in one day, and we timed everything because in each location for the interiors, we mainly used natural light and bounced it if we needed anything. But everything was shot with a DSM-C2 camera dangling around my neck. So I had, I don't know, 16 pounds, 18 pounds around my neck the whole day. And I was working sometimes on my knee, sometimes I would get low. And now this is just even more powerful to do that in a much more easy and sort of fun way. Love action. Can you add non-preset recording frame rates? Probably. I know Raptor just got that feature. Edit. Doesn't say save there, but it probably adds it. List. There are things you can add to the list. Interesting layout. Hide all, reset. Modify list. You can do some things here. Interesting. So there seems to still be a table. The one that bothered me, and honestly, the way this should be done is, and if Jared is still here, Jared, you still here? Can I give you a feature request that I've been asking for? The way I'd like to see all of the frame rates done on cameras moving forward from Red and everybody is the not just the 2x, 3x, 4x, but I want 1.5x, 2.5x, 3.5x, and having some logic in the firmware to round up. So, and that typically comes from the EU way of working, where if you were shooting 1.5x, you'd get some weird number and you'd have to round up to get to another solid round number. Let's see. Other questions. Do I know if the V-Raptor expander blade is compatible? No, probably not. Maybe. Hard to tell. No, definitely not. But there's going to be a breakout box for Komodo-X. Jared showed that earlier today on Scott's stream. Really hope for a 6-inch monitor. You don't want a 6. You maybe want a 5. 6 is very close to 7. Given Komodo-X, what we can expect for Komodo Mark II? I don't know. I mean, you can probably wait for a Komodo Mark II, but like, what are you going to be getting that you're not getting here? Unless Komodo Mark II is something bigger than this, and maybe they hip hop that way. I have no idea. Do you know if Red trying Morse code with the emojis? Just want to pick your brain, Mayfill. I work as a freelancer and use my Gemini on shoulder and sticks with production module as a cam for talking heads and such. My Komodo on Movi, should I upgrade? Do you shoot a lot of anamorphic, Jasper? If you tap into the taller height of the Gemini sensor for anamorphic, that's a thing. But I do think global shutter for work on the Movi is really, really valuable. And even the faster readout on Raptor, to be frank. But yeah, image quality wise and workflow should feel fine. Red code is extremely accessible from a third-party post software solution. Time code option right now for Komodo-X. So it uses the same 9-pin connector. I have 9-pin straight to SDI time code, and that breakout box looked like it had an SDI or a BNC connector. So the Komodo-X had the ability to use the powerful 16-bit red code raw format. Yes, that sounds very sales-oriented, but yes, red code raw is in every red camera. And it's awesome. It is basically one of the biggest strengths in the red ecosystem. It's well supported across the industry in every piece of software you can imagine. And really fast now. Like, I'm editing 8K even on this notebook right here. I have a MacBook that I was just doing some work on in the house. I have a bunch of different workstations. I'm basically a small production company when it comes down to it. After seeing what G, the slower lower space CFXB cards should work right, would be awesome for able to use the R5 cards. Unknown. This thing will still actually push out quite the data rate in high speed. Yeah, I'm going to add that, Jed. Yeah, for Komodo-X came out today. I don't even think Red's got a manual, but I'll go in and figure out what all the max frame rates are. I'll probably have that done tonight if I'm feeling very ambitious. But yeah, I think the smallest capacity cards are like 300 gigabytes. But honestly, just get 660 cards. I use 4 terabyte most of the time, and 2 terabyte is my backup. I think 2 terabyte is going to be actually pretty good for this camera. I need long roll times because, I mean, most of the people here are not new to cameras in general, but my general mindset is to have enough media to roll for a day without offloading. And from there, it extends out because I do shoot sometimes where we don't offload for an entire week or two. So you need to accommodate to whatever your workflow is. But like I've been telling a lot of filmmakers for many, many, many years, when you're starting out with equipment, you need to probably invest in enough equipment to get you through a production day. And when I say a production day, you need. You're right. I should have used a camera. I totally should have used a different camera. It's because I have the delay timer on there. This is actually my stills camera, and I got my other live stream. I live in ELQ. Cool. I live in HQ. in the highest data rates, typically from my work. But I understand if you're shooting long rolls and stuff like that, or just need to be real nimble on the file size, you have that flexibility, and that's cool because you in HQ, MQ, LQ, or ELQ, it's all red code raw. You are making some decisions, but for like talking heads and stuff, no issues really. Sensor cleaning. I feel like this is an American Pie. Yes, no, yes, stream is black shitting. Has reloaded R5K. No, this is a Canon. Yeah, I should have just set up this whole thing differently, but I was determined to do this outdoors because it's really nice out, and I've had a very long day. I've been filming a lot. I'm in town doing post-production. I'm really happy to be in town to be able to actually buy this and get it quickly. I'll be here for Cinegear, and then I'm going to be probably filming for 50 or so days straight after that. And then we'll be wrapped on that project. And on to the next one. You were saying productor today. Productor. Oh. It's just been a very busy day. I have cases of lighting equipment I have to open today as well. So it's just going to be a long day. I have another camera here. Something else new in my life. So we're about to do something to Pi now. Phil, would it live in lossless given the option? No. Maybe. I honestly think compressed raw at like even 2.1 shows an incredible power when it comes to saving on your data footprint. Because visually lossless, and even if you're pressing the file hard, you still get the data rate benefits. And I think that's why so many people enjoy it outside of the flexibility of raw. I like rolls with lots of butter. The auto face detection is better than Komodo. No, we'll find out though. I hope to make Cinegear. Yeah, it'd be nice to see you, Carlos. That'd be fun. It's back on the Paramount lot this year. There will be new stuff announced that I've been made privy to. So yeah, should be a fun year for equipment. All of this stuff will be there. Yeah, it'll be good times. Any other questions? We got 79 people here. Probably a few lurkers. Raphael, you were saying productor reload. Camera's been on. It's been running for a minute. I could slap a lens on there, but I'm not gonna go full bore on it. My next steps are to slap this guy on here, fully mount the support brackets, which are all still in the wrapping over here. Motorcycle. This is not the END. This is the straight PL. I still use primarily front of the lens ND for a lot of reasons. But I am going to probably get 2 of the ENDs. I don't know if they're going to be both for Raptor or I'll just use one for Raptor. It's going to be a hard thing for me to buy 3 of those at the same time. We'll see. But I'll figure it out. I think it's actually going to be a banger on Komodo-X because that's all you need to get going. For those that don't know, so the END, it's the same one that's in Raptor XL, right? As I totally block my face and do this poorly. So the Raptor XL, you can control it through the side of the camera, through red control, through the monitor and everything like that. The XL, it's all built in. So when you go to clear, physically, the END moves and then a clear filter pops up. On the END PL adapter, or mount, it should be just more appropriately called, you have 2 cartridges. You have a clear and a VND, or an EVND, or END, however you want to call it. And it's the same strengths, it's the same technology, 2 to 7 stops. No, there is no built-in ND, but there is a mount for PL. And I don't know if Red will do an EF mount one at this point in time, but it's something that people request, and especially for smaller lenses and things, it'll be really fun. But the cool thing about it is in the menus, you have incredibly precise control over it. Quarter stops, third stops, half stops, or full stops. If version would be full WoW, yes, it would. More someplace soon, but no built-in END, no upgrade path. No built-in ND and no upgrade path. So the VND or the END is compatible with up to 8K VV sensors, so that doesn't need to be upgraded. So if you're using it for a larger or smaller format, I don't know. I can see a lot of reasons to have the built-in ND, but again, it's for anyone who had that fail on you, and especially how some people are going to be using this camera where it's going to be rattling around and stuff. You have to keep in mind that kills cameras. You stop using them. You better have a backup camera on set when that happens. So why do I prefer NDs on the front of the lenses? I mean, I favor image quality over convenience, like 90% of the time. We live in a time where there's all sorts of filmmakers who need to deliver things in different ways. Even when I do one-man band work, though, I'm still using front of the lens ND. I do have rear of lens adapters. I have a great one from Breakthrough. I have a couple other ones here. I've used them, don't mind them, but they all have their own little quirks. And even the cameras that have built-in ND systems, the tragedy there is none of them are the best NDs on the market. I use, like, literally I have 4 different sets of NDs that are all better than anything that's inside any camera today. And that's why I'm like, yeah, like even when I shoot on Arri, I don't use the internal NDs. I use something else. So that's just what it is. Because matte boxes are a hassle. Not really. Clamp on especially, really not a problem. But if you're using like stills lenses, yeah, that gets a little frustrating. You got to deal with the donut or the black hole or whatever. If I've had a B cam have broken built-in ND, taking them out of production. Exactly. No, I have a folder on my main workstation from people's cell phones or emails at 3 o'clock in the morning. Like, do you know how to get this camera back up and running? And there is no answer to that. When it says you got to send it in for service and there's physically something that's cranked or something inside the camera, you can rip it out. You can do that and see if they'll trust you in not voiding your warranty. But are you live streaming on the OG Komodo? No, this is a Canon R5, which was a tragic mistake. Red piece of the beam out. Focus works really well when you place the X. Okay, yeah. Well, you know, the focus is actually great on these cameras. I mean, that should be very seamless. That's the 24 on that. You know how you can put gel filters behind the lens with Panavision film cameras? Have you ever run into focus issues? Yes. So when you put anything behind a lens that does not have some sort of optical compensation, everything typically has some sort of filter strength, what optomechanical folk will call filter strength. And that's why actually the Athena lenses from Nissi, they solved this by actually having a clear back there. So when you do use a creative filter, shouldn't be an issue. So well thought out lenses actually, you know, they compensate for that in some interesting ways. But I've used nets and filters behind lenses. You don't always need to get to infinity. If you're working 6 feet from the lens, you can do all sorts of stuff on the front or the rear of the lens. You make it look really weird if you need to. Does the END have IR cut? It, I believe, is tuned in camera to compensate for any color drift, any strength. From my experience with Raptor XL, that's what I saw it doing. And it did a pretty good job, especially in the more common ranges. Will the STKX be a problem for your shoots, since white is very reflective? It's actually a matte white, so it's not super reflective. If I ever have a concern on set like that, and you know, this was way more of a concern than the white camera, to be frank, but you know, comically, I sometimes use really big lenses to block that out. No, I'll use some black tape, usually paper tape if I'm seeing anything near a window or something. Not a big deal. You just got to keep an eye out for stuff like that. But I haven't actually had a problem. Yeah, somewhat of a surprise because I do shoot a lot of stuff where it's very prone to being seen in reflections and things like that. When people complain about ND solution, it feels like a lazy mistake waiting to happen. Ooh, that's a hot topic, Carlos. I think the prevalence and demand for high-speed workflows out of owner-operators, you're just trying to do everything to save time and make your day go easier. So I understand why everything you got to do to a film camera is like you need to be laser focused, and it's going to take a minute. And if you do it wrong, something bad's going to happen. So, what is the sensor like in the KX aside from the specs? Is there anything to note? Jared has been saying that it's about half a stop better in the shadows. So that'll be fun when I test that. I will shoot all 3 of my dynamic range tests probably this week. I got a fresh Xyla in. I probably will put it up. Do I shoot another Komodo one, or do I just do it against Raptor? I feel like just doing it against Raptor is probably the most valid thing, but I don't know. Some people are going to ask if it's worthwhile to upgrade versus Komodo, so maybe I'll go that route. The other thing to note about the sensor Kamov is it's twice of everything Komodo does and half of everything Raptor does in terms of frame rates at the specific resolutions. In your opinion, would you say RED sensors and image processing from RED bodies still emulates film stock? Emulates film stock would be not the way to say that. Initially, especially in the early days of digital cinema, RED was producing a camera that could be seen as a digital film alternative. And what was tied to that was color, dynamic range, and resolution, and image noise. Digital's been cleaner than film for quite some time, so that's not the factor. But interestingly enough, it was the Dragon sensor, and I posted literally just before Komodo-X came out. I used to meet with ASC DPs, cinematographers, and we used to discuss the Dragon sensor a lot. I probably tested the Dragon sensor for more people than any other sensor. I mean, I got so many requests. And then by the time Monstro came out, I did some really, I knew the sensor so clearly. And the very small gains that you got in Monstro, which became notable gains, were there. And subsequently, the same thing with Raptor. Raptor is like sick. For anyone who hasn't used it, you got to rent the camera for a day just to goof off with it, because it's a combination of so many things that are very hard to really summarize. If you've used RED cameras in the past and haven't touched any of the new ones, the new color science filter / OLPF in all these cameras alone sets it apart from previous generation cameras. You can shoot into the sun without concern. In fact, that's going to be literally the first thing I test tomorrow when I go out with this bad boy. It's the same thing I did with Komodo, actually. Day one Komodo, I picked up the camera from RED in the evening. The following day, in my backyard, I had this tree that was massive, and I had this sunball shooting right through the leaves, and I was just having that moment as it was peppering the frame with flare, and I wasn't getting those red dots. Can't give up on Dragon. No, Dragon's a beautiful sensor, and RED's in a very peculiar situation because none of their cameras they've released have gone out of you can literally use a RED 1 to still make a very high quality film. But the thing is a RED 1 takes forever to boot up. It's built like a tank and weighs about as much as one. It's got quirks. It's not the best interface. At a minimum, if you're looking to buy into a used system, I would recommend starting at DSMC. But at this point, I've been seeing some DSMC2 prices that are pretty low. So, but now you're in a conundrum where you got Komodo and Komodo-X, very much entry-level prices from my perspective. The shocker for me, they're expensive, and don't get me wrong, but these cameras do a lot for what you're paying. Like this, Raptor could have easily been the same exact price as Monster when it came out at 86 grand. It does more. It has higher frame rates. The image quality is different. Everything's different. And then Komodo-X, this is literally what people were paying for with a Dragon, with global shutter. You got 4K out. You used to have to buy like what was the old DSMC? I used that broadcast module, and that thing was like 10 or 15 grand. I did some work with the Grammys, and we ended up doing a 4K broadcast all shot on RED. And this now has all of that in here, and it's saving you the money. So even though this is a $10,000 camera, I don't have to buy battery plates. I don't have to buy modules to get a 4K image out. I don't have to buy, I mean, it's nice to have a nice XLR thing, so I would buy that anyways. But honestly, I wouldn't want full-size XLR on the camera, because what it would take to make that viable, like you'd have to add so much space and size here. So yeah, Dragon is special. And I think one of the things from a workflow perspective now is, even though IPP2 is where it is, I've done a lot of LUT crafting to make everything work like it used to, with some of the benefits of the new color science, but still using the tone maps from previous gen stuff. Probably not the best thing to do, because we have cameras with more dynamic range now, but if you know what you're doing, it's kind of fun. And Carlos, you're going to see some new color stuff coming, man, that I've been working on that's going to be really fun. Actually, let me see what LUTs are in this camera. Is my stuff in here? I must know. Yep, there's my film bias right there. So this was the fun one to do, because when Komodo came out, I added the achromic film bias bleach, and film bias offset. Oh, wow. So all of them are in here. Literally. That's awesome. Yeah, it was an honor to do that. And for those of you that don't know my background, I was a digital colorist when that was not even a job title. We had to like literally make tools for that. I was actually just looking at some of my old color work on X-Men 2, and versus looking at some of the color work I did much later at X-Men First Class. And just shocking, man. Just, it's so fun to go look at the old log files. And I have all these LUTs. I have thousands of LUTs I've made since the 90s and early 2000s. And I sometimes translate the looks to modern cameras, because, you know, what was old can be new again if you look at it under a slightly different light. Can't give up Dragon. What Komodo-X did is level the playing field, making it easy to keep all the workflow streamlined. Well, and also where you probably would fit 2 cameras, you could probably carry 3 or 4. That miniaturization thing is pretty big deal for all of us. Film color is beyond awesome. Thank you, Carlos. I've really put a lot of time into that. And there is a small chance you're going to see film color in a new place, but I don't want to talk about it and jinx it too early. But we have some meetings coming up. The idea of having multiple red bodies a few years ago was way out of reach for many. Now it's the way to go. So Ali, one of the interesting things, so way back when upgrade paths were pretty much the thing, it allowed for people to get into a second body that needed them. I am someone who shoots in incredibly remote places, and there's a very real chance that like a bear will steal a camera in my life. So I definitely always travel with 2 cameras. Like one of them could get wet, you know, and never turn on. Like what could happen there? I'm late. I'm sold out. Did you just say since the 90s? You look so young. I am in my 40s. I may look young, but I'm getting. I won't say I'm getting older. I got a little bit of Peter Pan blood in me, so you know I don't really want to grow up. But as I've grown up, it's become more fun. Yeah, the first color work I was doing. Gosh, what film was it? I did some stuff on Little Nicky. Fantasia was around that time. I don't even know, man. I'd have to go on my credits. But X-Men was like, I was working on that in 99 or 2000, somewhere in there. And then the second X-Men was a whole bigger deal. Red is making him younger with every release. Not quite. I think the thing that I said on Scott's stream, which was quite a joy for me, is it's every camera that comes out, no matter who makes them, I get really excited, because I look at these tools for the potential of what they can do. And sometimes I'm like, you know, that's a miss. This camera fits in such a special place because there's nothing that currently does anything this thing does. It's a global shutter, high frame rate camera, and it's very, very small and nimble. So that has very cool ramifications for lots of workflows, especially if you're doing action, vehicle work, just the concept of a whip pan. Those who have to shoot on long lenses, I saw Jared recently, and I I have a lot of thoughts on global shutter, but generally, for anyone who's doing higher end production, global shutter or a high speed readout is really what you want, because it really makes you happy when it comes to what the image can do. This was the size, price, frame rates I've loved and waiting for time to sell my DSMC2. Yeah, I could see that perspective, and especially if you've been holding on to something for a while. I still haven't gotten rid of my Monstros. I've been renting them out to actually Marvel and a couple other major productions. And Monstro is still an 8K 60p camera, dude. Like, damn it. It's only literally competing with Red and Sony in terms of what it does. Way back, we have to use backup camera days we're all working at. The limited edition is just about the color. So yeah, typically Red comes out with an early edition Stormtrooper. Sometimes that reflected a different price thing. This time around, there's not going to be a price difference, from what I've been told. But yeah, it's a limited edition. These, they've probably made a few hundred of these. This, they only made 20 of the orange ones, and then the other colors were subsequently 20 batches. My bad, bro. I didn't know they released this camera already. I thought you were testing out. No, I literally bought it and grabbed it today. It was funny. Rob from Bright Tangerine, he's like, congratulations. You know, just checking in on me because he went down to the lot getting ready for Cinegear. And I wasn't in a great mood because I've spent a lot of money today because I didn't just get this camera today. There's a lot of other stuff going on. And I was just like, this is a heavy day in my life. But when I'm in town, I have to kind of plan out the rest of my productions and stuff for the year. So I have 3 shoots that are going to take me through the end of the year that I'm kind of gearing up for, which is really cool. And I got some new aperture lights that in. I got some new pro light stuff I'm getting. It's just like a lot of that kind of stuff. I do want to downsize. I want to get to about, if I can, I'd like to downsize. I have equipment in 3 different spots, and I'd like to downsize to maybe 40% if I can, but I'm a busy guy and I don't like selling my lenses. That's a bigger problem for me. So when you do what you love, you don't age. Also, don't smoke. Yeah, I don't smoke. No, not really my thing. But I don't sleep either, so maybe that's aging me quicker. It's a very awkward thing. Red sorted out what others don't want to or understand. You know, I've been at this long enough that I have close relationships with all the camera companies, and I've talked to people who make more expensive cameras only, and they do want to make less expensive cameras, but they don't really know how to do it yet. And I think what Red did was they found a really good recipe for their specific strategy on sensors. And they do a lot of interesting stuff with the sensor technology. And, you know, they got Graham Natchez. He'll never get the credit he deserves for what he's done on the image processing and color science side of things. And I don't even think he likes the term color science because now everyone uses the term, but he's a wizard and I enjoy talking to him. I was actually texting him earlier today. He was asking if I was right when I got the camera. He was like, "Are you shooting with it yet?" And I'm like, "No, I'm not even home." But I'm looking forward to seeing that, and I'll probably shoot him some images I get just so he can see what I find, and yeah, we'll see. Well, no, you don't really smoke, Scott. You suck on like these brown twigs. You know, they're props, right? Let's be honest. You were in a bad mood because it was Rob who. No, Jose. My favorite story with Rob is still. I knew Andy when he started Bright Tangerine and left Ari. And at NAB, when Rob was green, I met him and he gave me the whole Bright Tangerine sales pitch. And I was like, this is awesome. And I knew we were going to know each other for a while. He's had like 2 kids and it's just wacky. You end up meeting a lot of people in this industry and developing great friendships and relationships. And Seth Emmons just came to mind because I had that picture of John Schwartzman, and I have a great shot from Cinegear one year when Seth brought his kid out, and Seth actually briefly left our industry and now he's back, and I'm very happy to see him. He's a good guy. I enjoy all these people. Our industry is still very small, even though it's probably, I don't know, 250x during my career. overall. I mean, when I began in this industry, you could throw a rock and find someone on a different set. But the industry has grown in the sense of, you know, new outlets, new distribution. I drove around 3 major motion picture studios today, and you know the WGA strike was going pretty hard, and you know that's important work to be doing right now as we're trying to get things settled. There's a lot of productions that are still rolling. That's a topic. There's a lot of productions that have anti-strike clauses. That's a topic. Lots of stuff, man. But ordered mine earlier today. Filmmaker Alley. Excited to test soon. What lenses do you shoot with usually? Oh boy, you don't know me very well. I shoot with a lot of lenses usually. I decide my glass on a project by project basis. Price, very typically Tokinas first. Sigma's probably not a far second. And then I have smaller lenses like Dulens, the DZOs, the Meikeis. I'm very fortunate. I've invested in quite a few lenses to solve problems mainly. Zooms, I've been using the Permistas more than my CZs lately, but I did not get rid of my CZs. I would not do that. Those lenses, actually, no, half the project I'm currently shooting on, I chose the CZs for a very specific reason, which is interesting. But on Komodo-X, Schneider Cine Xenars, some of my favorite Super 35 glass, I own 2 sets. Those lenses, once people figure out what they are, they'll be worth a lot more to a lot of people. That's all I'm saying. You should test those lenses because you can get them for a steal right now. Props to props. I love Sigmas. Have you tried the IRIX? I have tried the IRIX, and I have every single damn lens they've made. And my only frustration with them is they need 2 more focal lengths to make that a shooting set. And they're actually going to show their next focal length, Curtis, at Cinegear. I know what it is. I'll say it's a longer lens, which will be very welcome. And that will be a great set. I think those lenses are very underrated. I have no idea how they're doing those lenses at that price. Sigmas are very good, yes. I think Matthew Duclos and I started calling them mini master primes, which I would say is a fairly accurate statement, whereas the Tokinas are kind of like master prime size, but something else entirely when it comes to image quality. I mean, it's kind of funny. Ari rents these 2 things. You know, they rent out the Tokinas. They go out a lot in tandem or instead of the Ari signature primes. So that tells you a lot. Sigmas are good. So much for a good insight live stream. Thanks, Thompson. How much is the battery life? $5. No, it lasts. Jared was saying it was what 28 watt hours on pure draw, but I think with the monitor on there, it could probably get up into the 30s or 40s. I mean, that draws 18 watts at full blast. So that'll have a huge impact. But for the people who've been using the pop-up magnifier and all that stuff, this is all you need to shoot with this camera. Like you can actually shoot this way. I don't try to do this too often because I do prefer a bigger monitor or an EVF, which is the next thing that Red needs to. I think they've been working on it for a year. And I'm very excited. Well, Curtis, you're not supposed to tell them what focal length, buddy. Yeah, I won't confirm or deny, but you had a very good guess. Man, I love my Dulens. The image it makes. Yeah, these are little gems, aren't they? I've been talking to this company for some time. They have had some missteps, but they're very pretty in compact lenses. I did put a down payment on the Athenas. They are not here yet, but they are doing demos in town right now with the last 2 prototype sets. And I think they're going to be equally as interesting. And I'm waiting for the 21. The 21, and then they'll probably do like a 125, I hear. I don't know if they've locked that one down. It's no secret. EVF looking forward to. Yeah, I'm excited about the EVF. I just hope I can use the EVF and the touch. That was my favorite thing on a DS. Guess I'm buying another camera this week. I should not have used the R5 for this. I forgot it actually shuts down. Damn, I just should have just kept my Sony. But what I was saying, Carlos, on DSMC2, we had the side pogo here and the top pogo. So I would have the EVF and the top, and I would use them both for different reasons. Well, you see, Jose, the R5 here is actually my main stills camera. I should have just bought an R5C for this purpose. In fact, I might just do that tomorrow. You know what I hate? I hate, honestly, a lot of these cameras for this application. It's a little bit awkward. I think my Sony is all fine, and that's what I have for my live stream set up in the house, but I'm not in love with that. Really bad glitching. How bad? Is it awful? This is not Balcom quality audio. Yeah, I'll if I do more of this, and a lot of people are asking me to do more of this, how quality, but we'll see. I wouldn't mind actually live streaming from around, but the nature of a lot of the projects I shoot, I can't even. I mean, you'll be seeing inside of hotel rooms a lot. Do more of it. I know, Scott. I should, and I struggle with this constantly because I've been on a war path professionally lately. I love filming. I love doing other things too, and I love doing this. I love outreach. I used to do workshops a couple times a year. I haven't done a master class in a little while, but we've been talking about doing stuff again. So just got to make it make sense in terms of my schedule. And I've got projects going until this time next year. So going to be a little hairy to squeeze a lot of stuff in. Is Komodo screen X the same screen as Komodo? I will have to turn both on to really know, but they look very similar. Very similar. So I don't know if there was an upgrade on resolution or anything. Doesn't look like it. It would be very hard to tell, though. Such a small screen and such a fine pixel pitch already. This camera's been on this whole time, by the way. Very quiet. Do I have no, it's louder outside than the camera is. I was gonna read the decibels on it. I actually have a dead room, and I can take a very consistent measuring at like 1 foot, 2 foot, 3 foot, 4 foot. I mean, more live streams, not shut the cam down. Yeah. Weird how cameras live stream vloggers. I mean, I think it's cool that we have a lot of cool vlogging cameras and stuff like that. I won't tell you my serial, but it's pretty high actually, so a little bit of a bummer. But it's okay. I know I was the first filmmaker to pick it up, and that is all I need. You know, I'm not a goblin when it comes to a low serial, but yeah, I do like that. This other Komodo is nice and low. Don't want to see Phil's dead room. No, it's just a extremely soundproof small room because I do some work that requires that. Yeah. Damn, audio's still glitching, huh? That's actually an expensive microphone. That should not be the problem, but I am feeding the audio through the camera, through the capture, through the computer. So there's a better way to do this. If you need editing, nice. Will the Komodo-X match Dragon and Latitude? We're going to find out real soon, James. I don't have a Dragon anymore, but the good news is my dynamic range tests are extremely within probably the accuracy of a 16th of a stop. Not making it sound any better, Phil. Exactly. Look, it's just if you see Phil, it's the last thing you see. Jared was literally shocked that they sold out. I wasn't shocked they sold out. Not even close. Komodo has moved so many cameras, and it's been a joy connecting with an entirely different world of filmmakers that was their first Red. They didn't know me from the Red community. They saw my Komodo diaries and stuff like that. I don't have time to do Komodo-X diaries. I might do like a mini version, but I already know everything that I need to know in terms of RF mount, small rigging, all the things that are new have been translated to the new ecosystem. If you navigate away and back, it's better. Oh, I wonder if the Omni, okay, interesting. Someone that made 200 STs. I think Red only knows. My serial alludes to a different number, but who knows? It doesn't matter how many cameras. They're limited edition until you see the black ones. That's just really what it is. They're going to be making cameras nonstop for months. I think the audio issues are bandwidth related. I don't think they're bandwidth related because my connection's not bad, but I am outside. I have wind. I have chimes. It is wireless. I have a 5 gig network here, so I should be inside on a hard line. We actually just did some 10 gig testing, which is pretty cool. Here's some fun. Until about 2 years ago, for projects that were large, I was still delivering drives. This week, I delivered over 2 terabytes of finals. Well, that might get one more revision, but over 2 terabytes of finals yesterday. And that was on a 5 gig connection. So that's uploading about 625 megabytes. The 10G was getting about 1,200 megabytes, so 1.2 gigs per second. But I'm not quite ready for that move yet. Oh, shit. Okay. Well, if the audio is bad, I can't do much. Okay. Said somebody. I know moving forward, I need ST version, because it feels good to me. Yeah, I like the Stormtrooper. And if you're shooting in the sun, a white camera makes a lot of sense. I mean, we've learned that with Canon long lenses. You know, that makes a lot of sense. If you're shooting tennis all day, a white camera body is a good thing to have. I have Starlink and stream with glitches. Phil has 5 gig. Well, I'm probably 100 feet from my router. In fact, I'm 100 feet and like 12 walls away from my router, which is probably awful. But the things I have to do later today happen in this space. Okay. Well, I'm going to cut it here, and I'll probably do another Instagram feed or something along the way. Shoot me a message if you want specific stuff tested, and I'll see what I can do. I have the tests I'm planning on doing, and we'll start from there, man. That's the next steps for me. All right. All right. Any other questions before I go? Last time. I don't know if my audio is even good enough. Thanks, Josh. Appreciate that. Thank you. Yep, low light's coming. I got a couple fun tests planned for that. All right, thanks, Allie. Thanks, Cadence. Thanks, Carlos. See ya. Curtis, Scotty, Sheets, Raphael. Awesome. Okay, I'm going to end the stream, and I'll see some of you relatively soon. Thanks, Tim.